Hello, everyone. Welcome. Tonight we'll be talking with Casey Kent, who is a genetic counselor and expert in mindfulness and wellness. She has a strong interest in helping others address stress, particularly as it relates to the ABGC exam and kind of exam preparation. Casey took the exam in August 2024 after taking the boot camp, and she graduated from the University of Washington Genetic Counseling Program. Casey, welcome, and thank you again for being with us.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, I wanted to come in. I have a strong interest in helping other genetic counselors successfully pass their ABGC exam. And I wanted to provide some practical mindful-based stress reduction techniques to create some peace and pause while studying and taking the ABCGC exam. So basically, these are some mindfulness hacks to help put your mind in a state to process information, to retain information, to be able to share information. I have a strong background in mindfulness-based stress reduction. I am a stress management consultant. I have a lot of background in yoga and other Eastern-based techniques. And just wanted to give some tips and tricks that might help in combating some of the overwhelm as we prepare for this big exam. All right. So the first thing that I'd like to do is just take a collective breath together. So if we just take a deep breath in and fill up and then exhale completely. You might be able to do that twice more on your own, just to sort of feel into the presence here as we get started. Maybe even feel your left foot and then your right foot. And then connect into the sense of your breathing. Just naturally, nothing that you have to do or control. So my thought in what I did in preparing for the exam, given my background in some of these mindfulness tools, was to try to create a study ritual, something that told my mind and my body that I was there to start studying. So I'm going to guide you through one of the things I did for my mindful movement that I could take with me, both in starting to study and then as well as when taking the exam, when I was feeling pretty overwhelmed and stressed. Something else that people might like to do is wear something that's meaningful, like a piece of clothing or jewelry. I wore fun socks to the exam, and sometimes when studying to make me feel like I was successful, they had owls on them. Or if you wear a sweatshirt of a college that you went to that made you feel successful. You could light a candle as you get started studying, or brew a cup of tea, or do one of the mindfulness activities I share with you. So it's just sort of setting the stage, and it's a sort of a mind hack, a body hack, but this is what we're getting ready to do. So setting the stage and the expectation. So I'm going to show you what I did for my mindful movement, and we can do that together. So the first thing, I am seated, so we can do it seated, and you could do it even when you're doing your exam. So I take my fingers and I interlace them, and then I reach them up. So I'm bending my back, and then I reach for my knees, and I make sort of an arched back. And then I reach my hands up and twist to one side. Then I take my opposite arm and reach it over top. Then match on my knees. And then do a couple of these cat-cow motions just to move the spine. And then let go of my opposite arm, reach it up. And then move into that spinal twist. And then coming back to center. Open the collarbones and feel the space. My spine, one vertebrae on top of the other, stacked. Can do a couple of more cat cows if that helps you. And then I connected with my breath, and I actually put my hands at my chest. just as this opening space and trying to ground myself as I get started to study. And that took very little time, but it set the stage for being ready to study. And then I could do that same exact motion when I started the exam. Actually, there's a little bit of time in the beginning. And then anytime I felt really stressed or concerned, just ask a question, I could do something that simple in order to bring myself literally back into my body. So, what is mindfulness? So, mindfulness is a practice of purposely bringing one's attention to the present moment without evaluation or judgment. It's an awareness of thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, and surrounding environment. And then the benefits of mindfulness, of course, when applied to studying for ABGC exam, is reduced stress. It can help improve working memory. And can heighten the metacognitive awareness, which really helps us when we're in the studying mindset, can lower levels of anxiety, depression, and reduce emotional reactivity, all of which are wonderful tools while we are going through this exam process, both preparing as well as sitting in the exam. It can enhance visual attention processing, and it can actually manage physical pain. And I have some references at the end if these are things that are interesting to you that you can look up and find scientific articles that support these. So maybe grab a piece of paper or a journal, and I'd love for you just to check in with yourself and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 of how you feel right now. So that could be your mood or your stress level. You can pick what the scale is. It's just for you, but just to check in as we're starting to talk about taking the exam or studying for the exam. How are you feeling on that scale of 1 to 10? And then also, can you list 1 to 3 words that describe your current state? Maybe that's calm, maybe that's present, maybe it's stressed, or any words that might help. And you get to decide also if 1 is high or 10 is high. This is just for you. All right. So now that we've done that, our first mindfulness activity is called the connection to 5 senses. And I want you to just keep your eyes open and travel around your space. And you can list and name inside 5 things that you see. So you may just have your eyes land on something. It could be a picture. You say the name of that picture or a door handle. So go ahead and do those 5 things that you see. And then next, you'll connect and notice 4 different sounds in your space. It could be just the whirring of your computer. You might hear something even outside the room, maybe even connecting to the sound of your breath. And then next, you'll notice 3 things you can feel. That might simply be the support that you're resting upon or the texture of the clothes on your skin or the air in the room. That 3 things that you feel. And then noticing 2 scents or smells. It may be more difficult. They may be very subtle. And then something that you can taste. Maybe it's just the lingering taste in your mouth, Maybe you've had something to drink. If you don't, you can just swallow. Maybe you can notice how your body feels after just doing that 5 senses exercise. The next mindfulness technique that I'll share with you is called the 4-count breath. And so you can pick your count, but I'll lead you through this now. So just all you're needing to do is to inhale for a count of 4 and then exhale for a count of 4. We're going to do this 4 times just so that you can know where we're going with that. So you can inhale 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, inhale 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, inhale 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, inhale 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4. And you can let that go, returning to your natural rhythm. Maybe even taking a deep breath and then sighing it out. Just feeling the effects of consciously counting, making that understanding that you can change the pace, the rhythm of your breath, and matching the length and strength of the inhale with the length and strength of the exhale. So the next breath practice we're going to try is adding on to that 4-count breath, and it's called box breath. For some reason, this doesn't feel helpful to you or doesn't feel relaxing. If you find that you're holding your breath or it makes you anxious at all, then simply move back to the 4-count breath of counting to 4 inhale and the counting to 4 exhale. But in the box breath, you'll inhale for a count of 4, and then you'll hold it in for a count of 4. Then we'll exhale for a count of 4, and then we'll hold out for a count of 4. So often people like to find something maybe in their room or it's something they can look at and be able to trace this as a box. We do have a visual that's coming up that can help us to do that. It moves pretty quickly as it's counting through each. And you can go at your own pace, but just for this exercise, we'll move at the pace that this counts. So again, that's an inhale for a count of 4, hold in for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, and then hold out for a count of 4. And I will do that audibly for 1 to 2 rounds, and then I'll let you move on your own. So if we're ready, we'll go here. And I'll wait for 1 round before, because it starts really quickly. You can see as it's heading along the box here. And so it's at hold. And then we'll start to breathe in. 3, 2, 1. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Breathe out. 3, 2, 1. Hold out. 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. 3, 2, 1. Hold in. 3, 2, 1. Breathe out. 3, 2, 1. Hold out. 3, 2, 1. And you can begin on your own if this pace doesn't work. You can choose the different pattern. And then let that all go. So now, since we've done some of those practices, taking a deep breath in, releasing it out, going and doing our post assessment of those mindfulness techniques. So, checking back in with yourself on the same scale that you rated yourself in the beginning, and you write down your number here from 1 to 10. No judgment. Maybe doing that last practice was stressful. And so it may be higher than the last, but this is just naming and noticing without judgment. And then if you could list 1 to 3 words that describe your current state. Maybe it's the same, maybe it's different. I invite you to use some of those tools if they work for you as you begin to study and go into the exam. And then I have 2 more exercises that might be helpful for you to write or visualize um, in thinking and preparing for success for the exam. So the first thing is to remember past successes. So these are things that were really challenges that you encountered in your life, and that you were able to make your way through them. So first start with one that felt like a big challenge. Maybe that was even getting into a GC program, writing an essay, or some assignment that was a challenge, but that you came through it with a positive outcome. And as you think about that, maybe it's just words, but then can you visualize a snapshot of what it felt like when you were successful? Maybe it was external validation by getting a grade or something that happened, or maybe it was a patient that you were seeing during rotation that you were worried about having that individual experience, and then how you felt in the end, what these are successes. And I want you really to like move into that experience, describing like we did with the 5 senses. What were things that you saw? What were things that you felt? What were things that you heard? What were things that you maybe even could smell or taste? Like really take yourself into the moment and slowly play it like you're watching a movie or a daydream, that you're seeing yourself moving from the challenge to the success. And I'll give you just about 1 minute here to at least go through one, come up with one, and really walk yourself through that experience, remembering what it was like. Maybe just about 10 more seconds. I invite you to try this with some other activities that may be hard to come up with on the spot, but this can really set our mind at ease for feeling into success. And the last is visualizing your success. So imagining in our mind's eye what it's like to pass. Our body actually doesn't know cognitively if we're imagining something, if it's looking at it like a memory or if it is something in the past. So if you can imagine the feeling that you have in your whole body with all your five senses, what it was like to pass. For me, I went and actually went to the testing center where I knew I was going to be taking the exam. I walked in, I went and the supervisor let me see where the room that I was going to be taking the exam in. And I could, when I came home, I could like see that space. What would it look like on the screen when I passed? And walking out the door of that facility, imagining the feeling of pressing that door open and walking out having successfully passed my ABGC exam. And so coming to feel those feelings in your body, again, that's what what sights are you seeing? What sounds are you hearing? What things are you feeling in your body? Even just walking out or the clothes on your skin. What are things that you might smell in the testing center? Is there a taste in your mouth? And take the time to slowly play this through your mind as you come into situations where you might feel overwhelmed or stuck in studying. This may be something that's even more important than trying to get a few more conditions memorized or looking through gene reviews. By getting your mind in a place where you can be calm and you can see this success. Of course, we can't guarantee that's what's going to happen, and there is the potential for not passing. But by putting this in our system, our whole body as a memory, like that this is what it was like, that can really help set the body's tone. I can be totally honest that halfway through my exam, I thought I was going to fail 100%. I said, okay, well, I'm 100 questions in. I don't think this is going to go my way, but I did some of these techniques. I said, okay, so I'm not going to vaporize if I don't pass this exam. I will still be in my body. Everything will be okay. And by trying to wrangle my mind, I was able to make my way through it and to pass. And so these are sort of these hacks. I'll remind you the recap of what we did today. So we did just a simple conscious breath, and then we did some grounding exercise of feeling our feet. We did the five senses exercise. We tried both the equal parts breathing as well as the box breath. And then really remembered past challenges and how we met those and came out successfully, and then visualize success. So I love, I call this sort of your restoration remedy of getting yourself back to baseline. Just checking in. How was that for you? Was it helpful? Was it not helpful? Is there anything that you'd like to share about this? Are there any tools um, that you'd like to incorporate in your life and in your studying pattern or anything else? I'm happy to open or questions. I will also share references for these mindfulness techniques. Actually, Navy SEALs use box breath. That's how they keep their mind and their body calm when they're in these very, very stressful situations. I just wanted to say one more thing is like in taking this exam, a lot of the tests ask us to look beyond the book or scientific knowledge and then to choose the next best action or the most correct answer. And in my opinion and experiences, these questions rely more on instinct than rote memorization and recall. So you may have to check in with your gut or your body when choosing between multiple right answers. And using these mindfulness techniques can help you get into a calmer state or body so that you can connect to, your higher wisdom, be it your gut, your instinct or what have you. And that's something that I found that helped me be successful. So now I'd love to open it to you if you have any insights from this experience or if there's anything else that you might use in your life that might help you be in a calmer state to face these challenges.
Thank you so much, Casey. That was fantastic. I personally feel calmer already and more relaxed. I can see how doing this regularly would center you as you're preparing to either study or work or take an exam.
Yeah, I mean, even before seeing a patient that you think might be challenging, this is something that I would do, not necessarily all of them, but just trying, like you're saying, to get centered and be present as you come forward into a situation that you might find challenging. And I think these practical techniques make something like meditation or mindfulness a little bit more accessible because you don't have to sit and meditate for 15 minutes. You can simply take 3 to 5 breaths that can help bring you in a state where you can have a clearer mind.
Absolutely. And when you're actually taking the exam, would you recommend, say, periodic, sort of almost prophylactic breaths to keep yourself centered before you sort of veer off course? Or is it more kind of like you use it as when that happens, if and when that happens, that you start to feel like, hey, this is overwhelming, then you kind of bring those techniques in? Or is it both?
Yeah, great question. It is both. So I like it's sort of like prevention and then once you notice it's happening, it's sort of like this easy button that I call it. Like, okay, what do I employ now? What is my remedy once I am feeling overwhelmed? I can speak personally that when I started my exam, there was about a 10-minute introduction to learning how the software works and things like that. I walked into the room and I had done a practice exam um, on using the same software, like the ABGC practice exam. So I was familiar with how the tools worked. And I took those part of that 10 minutes to do literally that, reaching up, coming down, twisting my spine in all the directions and trying to just bring myself there. And then the other thing that I did was I tried to break the exam into 4 parts. So like 50 questions, 100 questions, 150 into the end. And then after each 50 set of 50, I would try to take a break or, I mean, we don't have much time, but like at least take a couple of breaths and know that that's coming. And if there were harder questions, like again, it's like, and I feel my heart racing or I feel that sense of anxiety, of stress, trying to take a couple of breaths to get myself in a right frame of mind to be able to answer the questions. Again, I think we've studied so much, and so much of this information, while it might be on the very top, may not seem to be on the very top of our head, there's so much of it that's in us by going through the experience, even of just sitting through the boot camps and sitting through the 18 to 24 months of GC school. We've heard this, it's been um, in our surroundings. And so being able to tap into the sense of calm, those, sort of like aha things pop through.
Yeah. Absolutely. But in terms of applying mindfulness practices to kind of your study routine as you're preparing to take the exam, do you have recommendations for how to sort of go about that? How much time would you recommend people spend incorporating those techniques into their routine and or practicing maybe for exam day?
Yeah. I mean, we're all humans, right? If I remembered, I would try to do it before I started each time I would start studying. So really just that, again, that mindful movement that I did. I'm taking a deep breath, and then I sort of experimented with different things as like wearing a scent, helpful, right? Aromatherapy or something like that. And I know that both Daniel and Lindsay have been a big advocate for making sure you have the playtime, that you're getting outside or you're doing something that's different than studying, but being really present when you do those things, because you can be mindful in those moments too. Even if you're choosing to watch a movie, you can, notice what it's like to sit on the sofa or the things that you're hearing. But I know there's this feeling of needing or wanting to check out sometimes, but by like literally just taking stock of your environment, that can be helpful. Or, you know, people study very differently, but if you can give yourself chunks of time, they talk about the Pomodoro timer, that you study for 45 minutes or you study for an hour and a half, and just taking a break and walking around the space. And in that walking around, maybe you feel what it's like that your heel strikes and then up to your toes, trying to bring yourself into your body, because we get so much in our head in studying, um, that there is, our body knows too.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts that you'd like to leave the audience with?
I had to do a lot of work on myself and thinking about what happens if I don't pass. So this sense of value or worthiness, if in fact I didn't hit, just over the threshold of passing. And I think that perhaps mindfulness techniques of like, my environment is still my environment, my body is still my body. If um, just on this one day that I sat for this 200 question exam, just didn't get enough of them right in order to hit the threshold. I would hope that people can really feel their worthiness and know that the potential of being a great GC does not rest in the hands of this single exam that you sit for on one day. I'll also give you some information about how you can be in touch with me. Um, if this is something you find really useful, I do some private sessions, and I'm happy to send Daniel some information about how you can get a private session and some discount as a Study Rare participant. Yeah. So I'll put up some of my socials. I am the Yogi Scientist on Instagram, and you can find me at caseykent.com, where I do a lot of other um, techniques. I, tongue in cheek, call myself the chief executive alchemist of my business called the Apothecary of Light. And I'm strongly rooted in the practices of yoga and Reiki, mindfulness, meditation, and this neurolinguistic psychology.
Thank you so much, Casey. We'll be sure to include links to all of Casey's socials in the description of this video. But for now, just want to say thank you again, Casey, for sharing your expertise with us. It's truly needed, particularly for this exam. So thank you all for listening, and take care.
My pleasure. Best of luck to you all.